Okay, we are recording now. Let's go and share the screen. Am I visible?
Yes.
Great, thanks. So let's start. So breadth wise, the market breadth looks absolutely amazing. Okay. Now I am talking in terms of not intraday moves, but in like from a swing trader's perspective. So as you can see, this is nothing to be worried about, to be honest, because it's just the first time. I mean, this sort of a candle was due. ठीक है, तो अगर आप if you go little back, this kind of candle could happen, could turn out to be like this. Okay, first day red आया, then second, third, fourth day, probably it might correct a little bit more than this, but till now we cannot say how deep this correction will happen. यहाँ तक आएगा, यहाँ तक आएगा, यहाँ तक आएगा, कहाँ तक आएगा, ठीक है. So that is why it's futile to panic just because we have a red day. क्योंकि मार्केट तो जाता नहीं है एवरी डे आप. दिस सॉर्ट ऑफ अ मूवमेंट इज नेसेसरी if you want to see Nifty to the higher level. So from breadth, nothing is visible in terms of bearishness. Okay. Uh, so in that case, let's sort of think about कि अगर निफ्टी में 2-3 दिन करेक्शन हुआ तो क्या लेवल एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं हम, right? So for that, what we'll go and see the weekly chart, right? So weekly में we have had a breakout of the cup and handle of uh, sort of a structure here. तो ये एक टच, सेकंड टच, थर्ड टच में तोड़ दिया, right? So this is a very nice resistance, and we know that resistance can now act as support. So this level, this imaginary white line, can always be a great area of support. Okay, so that is one. And you can see that this is the white line which I've been talking about. Now, the second areas where Nifty could find support is basically the gaps, okay? Because gaps are very important psychological levels. Plus, also there are levels where there was no supply in there, right? So this gap upper boundary or gap lower boundary could act as a support. This one or this one could act as a support, okay? So these are important, like not very important, but important levels. Now the third thing where Nifty can take support is if you use a VWAP, volume weighted average price, and put it at the bottom of the place from where the swing started, right? So bulls gain control back in this place. That's why this is a very important pivot. Higher pivot highs and pivot lows are important pivots where you can anchor your VWAP. So you can anchor here or you can anchor here as well. Now another VWAP which where you can anchor is, let's say, let's go to the 30-minute time frame, and you will find this candle, which was the candle where Nifty made the recent high. That is another candle where you can anchor the VWAP. So if you are looking at Nifty at a smaller time frame, चलो 5 मिनट में एंकर करते हैं ना इसको. So this was the candle where it touched the high, right? So that is like absolute uh, very precise anchoring, right? So to आज तो यहाँ पे है. So in future now you will now find that in daily time frame also, if Nifty comes corrects for some time, that imaginary line, that VWAP line will probably act as a resistance. तो देखो यहाँ पे किया है, ठीक है. निफ्टी जब उठने वाला था ऐसे बोला थप्पड़ मार के बैठा दिया, ठीक है. So this now and this. So as long as Nifty sort of remains between these two lines, this would be like the line of demand, and this would be the line of supply. We are okay, right? We will then hunt for stocks. I mean, people interested not in Nifty stocks like me will then look for stocks which are shaping up or holding up well, right? So that is another level. So let's go to daily again. Let me let in more people. Okay, so that is another level where you can imagine Nifty forming support. Now, the most important one I'm going to discuss now. So if you see Nifty after this March low से जब rally किया, which is the key moving average where Nifty has been constantly finding support, and the answer to that question is the EMA 21. ठीक है, so यहाँ पे जब first rally शुरू हुआ and after that this correction came, it sort of came very near to the 21 EMA and then it bounced off. Second time again it came back, slightly undercut the 21 EMA. So the 21 EMA is this yellow line, okay? And then again it bounced back and bounced back, bounced back, bounced back, and then again on this small 2-day correction, it again found support at EMA 21. फिलहाल EMA 21 से थोड़ा extended है, right? कितना extended है? Some 1-2% extended. So it could be that okay, EMA will climb up somewhere here and then Nifty will come and chuck shake you out or have a long tail demand candle and then it starts to go up. And once that happens, ऐसा नहीं है कि like another 5-6% rally दे सकता है, then it can again base, right? And we know what a good base looks like, then it will sort of form the volatility contraction pattern, and then when that breakout happens, that would be the time to again open up fresh longs aggressively in the market, right? So that's all I had for Nifty, and next week is probably going to be wait and watch what Nifty is going to do, broader market is going to do. It's a little overheated for sure, but again, in a bull run, like overheat doesn't mean anything, right? So as long as stocks are doing well, it's all good. So that was the first thing I had to discuss. Next thing I want to discuss with you all is let's take up a question which Stefan asked in HPA. Is that the question he asked is, Prakash, what do you mean by a low risk entry or a low risk setup, right? So, so to answer that question, you have to first imagine what a risk is. Risk क्या होता है? देखो, in any trade you put, you will have a risk, meaning that trade can either be a successful one or it can go against you. So when it goes against you, at what point? So let's say let's talk with an example. NRR bearings. NRR bearings was a stock where I entered yesterday. Okay, I made multiple entries. I made one as soon as it opened 188, 89ish, and then I made a couple of entries here, there. Okay, now so let's imagine that my entry at the end of the day is about 193, right? So now 193 pe I got, now it's a successful trade, but imagine had it could have gone against me. Now in that case, what is my stop loss? You know, so that number would determine my risk. So 193 पे अगर मैं entry किया, and if I had a stop loss, let's say below the super trend 10-2, that would have given me an open risk of 9%, 9.2% or 17%. Okay, so now let's round this number to 10. Okay, so that means that my risk per stock is of 20 rupees, around 20 rupees. And let's say if I have a portfolio of 100 rupees and I buy stock worth 10 rupees, and then I'll so let's not say 110, let's say 100% portfolio में से 10% I bought, and I put a stop loss of 10%, so then the risk to my portfolio is 1%, okay, about 1% or so. Now that means your risk is basically a function of how small a stop loss you can put, right? So 10% में अगर मेरा 1% का risk गिर रहा है portfolio पे, had I put a 5% stop loss, my risk would have been 0.5%, right? So then risk basically means where can you put a logical stop loss, right? So once we get that idea in, then we will know the real meaning of a low risk setup. A low risk setup is basically a setup where you can put a minimum stop loss. ठीक है? Minimum stop loss. So then आगे बढ़ के then we will see what is a low risk setup. All pullback setup are low risk, right? So for example, I will discuss one of my peak pullback setups, which I did when market was still trying to make a bullish this one. So this was an entry I made on NCC on either this day or this day at around 89.4 rupees, 88 or 89.4 rupees. Okay, so why did I make this entry? This entry was a pullback entry and in anticipation of the bounce. ठीक है, तो मेरे को इधर क्या दिख रहा था? मेरे को मस्त VCP दिख रहा था. This is the first T. This is the second T. And this is the third T. Right, so when I saw that, and when I saw this guy is probably now, and again there was also another trend line which was perfectly fitting these lines. Okay, so when I saw this sort of a structure which is an ascending triangle, I thought, okay, it is going to bounce. Right, now then I made an entry. My risk was almost 2% or so, right, somewhere here. I probably had 10% of my capital here with a stop loss of 2%. So now imagine how much my risk was. My risk on the total portfolio was only 0.2%. Okay, so that is what I call a low risk setup. Now inherently all pullback buys are low risk. Now another example which is currently setting up is Bharat Wires. Now Bharat Wire is a relatively low risk entry because this is an ACR setup. तो ACR setup अगर आप मुझे follow कर रहे हो तो पता होगा ACR stands for ascending channel reversal. ठीक है, तो ascending channel में अगर कोई stock है, generally all stage 2 stocks move in an ascending channel in their momentum phase, and that's why Bharat Wire is also in a stage 2 and it's also now in a ascending channel. I will bet you, आप कोई सा भी स्टेज 2 का स्टॉक्स खोल के देख लीजिए, वो चैनल पकड़ के बैठा हुआ होगा. ठीक है, तो मतलब वो चैनल पे जाएगा ही जाएगा. लाइक यू कैन टेल मी एनी स्टॉक, आई विल ड्रॉ यू दैट चैनल. The problem is the channel is not very pronounced like this, and you if you are a beginner, then the channel might not be visible to you, but since I've seen it so many times, I can see the channel. Now the setup is very simple. Once you get the third touch, 1 2 3, this was already sort of a third touch, but this is an even better third touch. You can already then anticipate कि ये channel बहुत ही important channel है, price इसको respect करेगा. And when you then when the price starts to then bounce off from that channel, that is a pullback ACR entry. And had you anticipate that yesterday or today even, then your stop loss would have been very simple, 7%, right? So 7% is still decent. I would have liked to be less than 5% or so. So generally anticipation kind of an entry में आपको ज़्यादा लंबा छोटा मिलेगा, या ये तो अभी almost it's like a confirm हो गया कि ये अभी bounce back कर रहा है, right, because you can see the volume confirmation is also there. You see volume last I don't know how 15-20 days or so, ये 10 DMA जो है वॉल्यूम का, उससे नीचे ही वॉल्यूम था, right, except for this selling day. Today the volume is almost double than that of 10 DMA, which now confirms that this buying demand is actually not a simple demand. It's actually very uh, um, it's a serious demand, right? Abhi then, like abhi momentum को आगे बढ़ने का, there is a very serious chance. So let's see what is the risk reward you get. Like let's say you entered somewhere here, your risk would have been around 6%, and your target, because it will not directly go, it will take some time and probably hit somewhere here. This is a sort of a target which you can achieve 2.5, right? So you risk 1 rupees and have a chance of making 2.5 rupees. So this is basically a live example of low risk. Another live examples of low risk would be like, let's say in Olectra, and I have been constantly uh, updating the structure in Olectra, right? So for example, Olectra, when this base was happening, this was a classic VCP in 30 minutes time frame. So this was one T, second T, third T, right? And then although I had plans to enter, but this huge bar just did not give me any chance because I also did not have any GTT. But once this happened, uh, when this candle was forming, I was sure that this is a good support. Okay. How am I sure? See this. Where is this candle taking support? This candle is taking support in two places. One is the super trend 10-2 and the second one is um, the 21-day moving average. I mean 21 EMA. यहाँ पे 30 minute है. So I was already sure that this was, and there are other signatures like you always see the volumes. What the volume is saying is that after this sort of a bar, इतना बड़ा demand के बाद थोड़ा सा अभी मतलब supply आया है, but supply is non-existent here. So and when these three candles came with huge volumes, I mean not huge volumes in volumes again, huge or not huge is always comparative. So comparative to this is a huge volume. And then again today morning I said ki, okay, this is gonna get, so now this is an entry which is hugely low risk, right? So अब इसका risk देखते हैं. अगर आपको इधर एंट्री मिला या इधर एंट्री मिला तो you'll see your risk is smaller than 2%, right? So now if you had taken a 10% entry, 10% of the PF आपने डाल दिया, 100 रुपये में 10 रुपया डाल दिया, and you have a risk of less than 2%, your total risk in your portfolio is less than 0.2%, right? So if you have then a rule कि कोई सा भी trade में you don't lose more than 1%, then what you can do is you can essentially, you could have gone 50% of your portfolio in here at this entry, but still your total risk on the trade would have been less than 1%. Okay, so that is what a low risk entry means. I hope this is crystal clear, Stefan. Next up, we move to discussing how I am going to, or how I intend to manage this trade. Okay, this trade is one of my best trades until now. Um, uh, because it's even better than RVNL, because RVNL I had a small size, although it did 100%. This one I have huge size, so I had like 32%. I sold some here, and now I am carrying 17% of this, which is already a lot, right? Now, because of this kind of a big candle, I am, so I'm basically now talking to you guys about my mental this one, right? What's going on. So if tomorrow or day after tomorrow Electra does something like this, I will be like, अरे इधर बेच देना चाहिए था, because then I'll be giving up so much. My almost 18% I'll be giving up, right? But let's say if I sell some here and then Electra does something like this, then also I will not be happy. I'll like, अरे बंदर should have been a little um, you should have held the trade. So these are tough times. I have never had such a good trade, and so now emotions will kick in. What I intend to do is I intend to, so what this is what I am doing, right? So I am going in a 30 minutes chart, and I am finding a place here where I'm gonna say कि इससे नीचे जाएगा तो I will have GTT on 50% of my position, right? So that place, what I have decided, in this case I'm going to use the 10-3 as well. Okay, so 10-3 को लगाएंगे यहाँ पे, just a minute. So this new green bar is my super trend 10-3. Okay, so super trend 10-3 is a place where I am thinking that I will put the below this I will put the uh, my stop loss for 15%, right? So this came around below this bar 139 point something, and I hope when that happens, the 21 EMA, which it has been respecting very nicely all along the base as well in 30 minutes, this will also come, and then the price gets supported here. Hopefully my stop loss is not going to hit, and then again it will base and then carry forward. worst case scenario, it will hit me and then go up. That is also what I have made up my mind. I am okay with that. Okay, so that is how I am planning to manage this trade. Uh, all right, now a couple of stocks which other people want to discuss in how should we trail them is HBL, SDBL, and Focus. Okay, so let's talk about HBL power systems. I remember we discussed this yesterday, and yesterday, so HBL power system is a very good stock right now. We can clearly see the momentum. We can see this. What is this? This is a breakaway gap because it broke out of a large structure here, and after that momentum, इतना momentum ज़्यादा है कि consolidation is also sloping up. Okay, generally consolidation ऐसे होता था, but अभी ऐसा हो रहा है. The same thing is also true for Newlands and some other stocks. Some pharma stocks couple of weeks back also had this kind of consolidation. Now, it's a great place to be if you are holding HBL Power. Why? Because HBL Power gave an 8%, not like a 17-18% like Electra. So that what you can now do is you can afford a move like this. Okay, worst case, matlab, if it comes and goes below the low of today, that is not a good thing. But if it comes and holds sort of the midline of the channel, that is also okay. Okay, so in that case, what I would do is, because it's a bull market, I would simply trail using the 10-2 here. So that would be a थोड़ा ढीला सा stop loss कि ठीक है, I will sort of ride you for a long period of time because I can see that you are a strong stock. If I keep you for 3 to 6 months, you might reach somewhere here, and that's why I don't want to get triggered and get out of the trade. So I will afford you a little deeper stop loss. So that can be one way to go. Another way to go would be like, okay, uh, I don't want you to come back below the low of today, and if that happens, I will, मैं निकल जाऊंगा. Another thing you can do is you can go to the 30-minute chart and see how it is looking like. So in 30 minutes chart, it clearly tells me that this guy is not going to pull back more, right? Because you see these two candles are very small bodied candles and the volumes are relatively higher. Means at least 50% to 40% of the of the previous green candle. So अभी ये क्या दिखा रहा है आपको कि इतना ज़्यादा वॉल्यूम होने के बाद भी the price is not moving down. What does that tell you? That tells you that so much of transaction is just happening in the same price level, which means that the supply जितना आ रहा है, demand is also उतना ही strong so that the price is being able to kept at the same place. Very soon, I am pretty sure the demand is going to get exhausted. And so in that case, you can also use the 10-2 or 10-3 in the 30-minute time frame. And you can say just like in Electra, how we did, okay, some level below, some 1 or 0.5% below the 10-3 in 30 minutes is where I'm going to trade it. Okay, so that is another way, and that would be a little not so deep, thoda tight stop loss, right? So that's how I would manage HBL system if I were holding this. Next stock which we will move to is SDBL, another great stock. So इसे बोलते हैं बुलिश एंड बुलिश ब्रेकआउट. ये ऑलरेडी बुलिश चैनल पे था, उसको भी ब्रेकआउट कर दिया. सो व्हाट डज दैट टेल यू अबाउट द स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ द स्टॉक? Tells you it's a really good stock. A lot of people are interested. Came back and retested the resistance, and now it's gone up again, right? So in my opinion, it is probably now going to chart a different क्या बोलते हैं इसको ascending this one, right? Either something like this. Let's just get rid of this. Anyway, so now there are a lot of ways you can think about it. Is that okay? So in a bull market, what you want to do is you wanna trail stops in such a way that you want to catch the entirety of the move, right? So what would be the best way to do? The best way to trail would be just trail it the previous swing lows. तो ये हो गया, then ये हो गया, then ये हो गया. That is the previous swing low. This is the then the next swing low. Then sort of this is this next swing low, and then now this is the next swing low, right? So a wider stop loss would be to just see that, hey, I'm gonna put my stop loss here, but again that would be too wide for you. In that case, another way to then trail your stop loss would be to draw a trend line which sort of respects all the lows, right? So if I draw this trend line, then I'm having at least 3 touch points in here, right? So then you can give it some time, so saying that like, okay, looks like there can be at least 2 or 3 days of correction. So in that case, I would say, because I don't want to get out of this stock also, right? And that's why I am affording it a little looser stop loss, little looser stop loss, right? Why I don't want to? So now the question is, so Prakash, if you already know that this guy is coming here, why don't you sell at this point? Because the point is, I don't know if it comes here. What happens if tomorrow it breaks out of this, right? So that is a dilemma, okay, because it's not easy. So this is one another way, and the easiest mechanical way is to then see the stock is respecting the 21 EMA, respected here, respected here, respected here, and there is very high chance that even now that 21 EMA will be respected, right? So in that case, you can then decide कि 21 EMA or the 10-3 super trend, because 10-2 को respect नहीं किया इधर पे, 10-2 को तोड़ दिया, but 10-3 has been respected for almost the entirety of the swing. So this would be another place where I want to put my stop loss. So ये सब stop loss तब काम करेंगे if you are riding SDBL from lower levels. If you entered here and let's say your buy price already is here, then you have a dilemma. The dilemma ये है कि as SDBL को I already saw 13% up in my portfolio. Then when it comes back and comes back to my buy point, then that's a mental problem, right? Because you already seen SDBL 13% दे चुका था मेरे को, भाई मैंने क्यों बुक नहीं किया, right? So those are the things which you need to sort of practice, because we know in eventually that SDBL is probably going to base for some time, but it's again gonna continue the swing unless and until, of course, yes, market conditions and all those factors are always there, and those will always decide your decisions. But in general, it looks okay right now till now. Okay. Now the third thing what you can do is, let's say you have 10% position and you are now some 10% or 12% up, 8% up, let's say. Now what you can do is sell 50%, okay, and then the rest 50%, just put a stop loss which is logical here, okay. So let's say how your trade will turn out to be. So you have 7 to 8% already booked in 50% of your position. Now your open risk is about 5%, okay, in the rest 50% which you are still holding. If SDBL comes and takes out your stop loss also, you will make sure that this trade was a winner for you, albeit a small winner. ठीक है, आपने loss तो नहीं किया. So now you see what I'm trying to tell you is there are a lot of ways you can manage risk, but you have to choose the way which is consistent with you, is consistent with your strategy. ठीक है, because there are just not one way to manage risk. There are not just one way to make money in the market. a lot of ways, but there is only one way which suits you the best. So the process of discovery of this process की कौन सा process मेरे को suit कर रहा है, मेरे से नहीं होगा, मतलब ठीक है. I have a I have come to a level where I can be very nimble with my tactics, you know, but that might not suit you. So that's my 2 cents for this. Last thing which I have to discuss, actually not last, focus. ठीक है. So someone asked me in the group कि how did I discover this? How did I sort of come to uh, uh, come to a decision to buy focus? So this trade is actually a little bit fundamentally biased. I have a so my good friend Shekhar from Twitter. You guys might know Shekhar from Twitter. He is a big fan of focus. Okay, so we used to share a group together until a couple of days ago, and I knew that he is very bullish on focus. So at the time, I think we. We traded this stock when this was coming out of this VCP, and that's why it was in my trade list because 2023 का जितना भी trade हुआ सब सारा list इधर पे ही है, and sometimes because good stocks will set up again, so this is a list which I maintain. And when this guy that was then setting up in this sort of Hiren Gabani VCP, then I said कि okay, 1T हो गया, second T हो गया, third T हो गया, अभी ये देखो fourth T इतना छोटा वाला, ठीक है. So then I actually entered on anticipation कि after 3T, after this fourth 3T it will break out. So this was a premature entry, and because of a couple of entries like this, I had to then pivot to a system where I then only enter on breakout. Okay, so you see uh, how we have to change our strategies as per the market conditions. So यहाँ पे एंटर करके मैंने कितना टाइम बर्बाद किया, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, almost 2 weeks or so. I was sitting on focus. Some day it is plus 2%, 3%, some day it is minus 4%, and eventually it started working, right? And then the entry would have been triggered on this day because this was the day it sort of actually yesterday it triggered the confirmed breakout buy signal which I am using right now. So yeah, that's how I got into focus. And see, volumes are also coming in, so we know that this momentum burst is probably going to translate into a longer momentum, which probably so next कहाँ पे तक जाएगा, at least ओनिल pivot तक तो जा ही सकता है क्यों, right? So I suppose 30 to 25% in a 10% portfolio would not be a bad return. Okay, so that's my focus thingy. Now the last thing which I want to discuss with you is I also saw some discussions in the group today about some biases or some of the things which we take it for granted, and one such thing was the correlation between gold versus equity, or that kind of a discussion, right? So many times what happens is like we pick up these things from a lot of other sources. We have so much already. न्यूज़ देखते हैं, ट्विटर देखते हैं, कोई कुछ बोल देता है, एंड देन यू रीड इट एंड थिंक ऐसा होता है. बट जनरली सिमिलर चीज़ आज आई पिक्ड अप व्हेन ट्रेडर लाइन पोस्टेड something saying that just a minute. Right. So this is what Richard posted, saying that I tried to detect stocks that resisted the decline. I reasoned that if they could swim against the stream, they were the ones that would advance most rapidly when the current changed. Nicholas Darvas. Okay. So basically ये क्या बोल रहा है, ये relative strength के बारे में बोल रहा है कि जब निफ्टी ये कर रहा होता है ना, or the broader general market when it is going down, then Darvas would look for stock which is doing something like this or this. ठीक है. So basically and those are the stocks which would probably go on and give a big move. ठीक है. So then what I quote tweeted and said that, hey, this is a very nice example because I had also been studying JBMA ka move. So when the Nifty 500 was doing this, JBMA was doing this. ठीक है, this is from similar time, November 21st से लेके March के end तक JBMA actually gave 48%, whereas the general market gave minus 12%, right? So this is the same thing with Davax बता रहा था. And then there's this guy called base trader. ये बोल रहा है कि JBMA is still an exception, although RS is a good way to find setups. Most won't work like JBMA. Then I started to think कि अच्छा why not test this. ठीक है, तो इसका basically test क्या होगा? You have to the test of this is basically बता दिखाता हूँ मैं आपको. Ooh, downloads. Right. So the test is very simple, right? What you do is you 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 find stocks um, and find two things in the stock. One is yeah. So one thing which you find is key when Nifty when when Nifty did this or Nifty 500, general market corrected 11-12%. How much our stocks, the whole 2000 NSE stocks, how much did they correct, right? So this is stocks correction. So for example, you see that Patel Engineering during the same period of time corrected minus 21%, Ravex corrected minus 20%. Fact actually did not correct. Fact उस टाइम पे भी 40% दे के बैठा था. Similarly, Jai Bharat Maruti 22, Saksof plus 22 and all this, right? And then the next column I had कि I said यहाँ से यहाँ तक कितना दिया है अभी स्टॉक ने, how much has it given, right? So Patel Engineering has been 141% and fact has been 120, so on and so forth. Now all you need to see is you need to see कि जो जो बंदे ने -21 दिया, so if this sentence is true, you know, if what Darva said is true कि जो बंदा ज़्यादा the stocks which did not correct much, they are gonna give me higher returns, then uh, this Reflex, which corrected double the market, 11% versus minus 22%, it should not have given 133%, right? Similarly, Patel Engineering should also not have given. But again, this is cherry picking. मतलब मैं आप एक उठा के बता रहा हूँ कि देखो देखो ऐसा तो नहीं हो. तो C2 is to for me to tell you कि bro देख कि ऐसा नहीं होता है. Then what you do is you do basic correlation graph. So what you plot here is you plot two things. एक साइड में मैंने so this x axis is percentage return. Just a minute. This one. So this percentage return, ये वाला कितना हुआ, यहाँ पे प्लॉट किया हुआ है x एक्सिस पे, और y एक्सिस पे प्लॉट किया हुआ है कि when this was happening इसने कितना बनाया. ठीक है. So here you see that there is no correlation, मतलब बिल्कुल correlate नहीं हो रहा है. तो below the x axis is everything which gave negative which corrected like negatively, right? So you see that this guy corrected some, I think this is an Adani stock. So this guy corrected more than minus 50%, but after this period has also given a negative return. Okay. So in this case, these are some of the stocks which have given very high return, 120%, 140%, 100%, but they had also corrected negatively. Okay, whereas these are the stocks which did not correct much but after return also this one. So अगर correlation बैठता तो ये जो correlation का ग्राफ होता ना, ये ऐसे होता, बिल्कुल यूं एकदम बीच से एक लाइन जाता, which would say that hey, higher the correction during Nifty corrected, lower is the output or lower is the performance of that stock, so which is not the case, and that's also quantified using this correlation coefficient called r square. तो अगर ये सीधा लाइन बनता तो this value would have been very near to 1. जनरली एकदम 1 तो नहीं होता है रियल लाइफ सिनेरियो में. 0.99, 0.94, 0.9, 0.86 तक भी बहुत बढ़िया है, राइट? So this was very interesting to me. I always thought कि ब्रो डारवास ने बोला तो कुछ समझ के ही बोला होगा, you know. But again, this data is just from one correction. Now, for you to then say is, hey, Darvax was wrong. What I need is I need to have this kind of data for sort of a lot of corrections, right? So I have to go back and see 2022 का correction के बाद ऐसा कुछ हुआ, फिर COVID correction. Then once I have a lot of data, and then you plot, uh, then then I will also have more confidence of my data. Right now n is equal to 1. मतलब it's just sampling bias भी हो सकता है, you know. So that is what I wanted to share. That's all I have for today. I will now open up for discussions. Who has a question? All right, folks. If no one has question, then I will wish you a very happy weekend, and I'll see you on next week.
Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Sure.